be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. So all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Wow, what a life, huh? 950 years. We've done some comparisons to try to imagine what it would be like to live that long. But can you see Noah? Yeah, I'm trying to make it to 1,000. You know, people were saying, yeah, I'm trying to make it to 100 years old. Yeah, I'm trying to make it. I got 50 years to go before I'm 1,000 years. You know, I'm going to try to beat Methuselah. You know, Methuselah is the oldest. 969 years that he lived. Now this story is a very interesting one. It really shows us the propensity of sin, to show us that sin didn't go anywhere. Even though the flood came and cleansed the earth, it did not cleanse the heart of man. For the heart is deceitfully wicked above all things. Who can know it? The heart of man still today struggles with that. No matter what you do in trying to cleanse the earth or even cleanse your body, you're not going to rid yourself of your sin nature. And that can be difficult sometimes. And I've read the book of Judges. Perhaps you know the famous statement it says they did right what was right in their own eyes. And they, as a nation, went from judge to judge to judge because God would continue to bail them out, get them out of trouble, and as soon as God bailed them out, they would go right back to doing what was right in their own eyes and get in trouble again, cry out for a judge, and God would deliver them once again, and then right back to doing what was right in their own eyes. It's our sin nature. We see that going on in the Kings. If you read 1st and 2nd Kings or 2nd Chronicles, and you read the Kings, especially after Solomon, you often read the term, and he did right in the sight of the Lord, or he did evil in the sight of the Lord. But what amazes me about all these kings, they continued, especially the successful ones, the ones that did right in the eyes of the Lord, they would do right until the nearing of their death or nearing of the end of their reign. They would do something really dumb, or they would set up an idol, or they would go out to battle when God said not to. They would do things and their heart would be lifted up and they would be humbled. Some of them got right with God, some of them didn't. They paid the price. But the idea is it's that same thing, and I'm going, what is it about the sinful nature that once things get good, we want to sin? We want to rebel. And it's here too, I go, when I read about Noah, we've been studying his life extensively. This guy was known as a preacher of righteousness, a just man who walked with God, it says. He found grace in the eyes of the Lord. He did everything God commanded him. And I'm going, oh, how could this be? Noah's a hero. Noah built the ark. He saved all creation. He saved the family to repopulate the earth. I mean, the guy's on top of the world, and God gives him the whole earth to say, now repopulate. And I'm going, and now he builds a vineyard. He gets drunk and gets uncovered. I go, oh, man. He gets off the altar. He builds an altar. It's pleasing to the Lord. And I go, how could this happen? Well, verse 21 says he drank of the wine, and he was drunk, and he became uncovered in his tent. Now, there have been some suggestions in regards to why this was. Two, actually. The first one is, prior to the flood, the canopy that covered the earth allowed things that you had, juices or milk of such, to stay and not spoil for weeks on end. Like you could set a glass of milk or a cup of milk out for 3 weeks and it wouldn't spoil. because of the canopy that was around the earth. You could place a cup of grape juice out there and it would be totally fine. It wouldn't go into fermentation. It wouldn't spoil. The yeast wouldn't build up, And so some have suggested that Noah, he's 600 plus years old at this time, and he's never known an environmental change. And so he builds this vineyard, an agrarian man. He was a man, they all lived this way. And so he's building a farm, he became a farmer, and he's just doing this, and perhaps, he made this grape juice, and man, it tasted real good, but he didn't realize that the fermentation process was a little speedier, and he just got schnockered. He just got drunk. And you know how it is, once you have the first one or the two, suddenly your guard goes down, you have another. It's just what happens to you when you partake of alcohol. You have just one, or just two, maybe just one more, and pretty soon you're slamming them down. And that's obviously what happened. Now, I can understand that if this is the case, Noah could have done this, because guys, how many love grape juice now? Is it just the best? It's just so good. It's so refreshing. Well, it could have been ignorant, and I can understand this. I got to tell you this story. I won't give you the name, but I'll tell you the story of an experience I had at a holiday party that I went to not too long ago, where we're just getting together and having snacks and a big party, and we're playing games and stuff. And there was this wonderful cheese fondue. Man, it was good. Just big chunks of different kinds of breads, and you dip it in there. Sorry, I know I'm making you hungry. Dipping it in there, and it was just so good. Well, we're playing these games. We're just having a blast, and all of a sudden I start feeling a little giddy. It's a little bit different. And I asked the hostess, I said, what's in this fondue? She starts laughing. She goes, well, I put a little white wine in it. Oh, a little? Sorry, guys, your pastor got lit, but he didn't know it. I'm just like, because I was laughing and we were joking and my face was red, and so what is this? And it's the fondue. No wonder it's so good. And it was really funny, so it was totally, and I don't drink, and so obviously it didn't take much for me to feel it, and it was really kind of interesting. So I had 4 or 5 more pieces. Oh, it was good. Could have happened to Noah that way. We don't know. Or it could have been his age. Come on. He was getting up there in age and tired. And maybe it's like, hey, I deserve a break. Man, I had a couple of glasses of wine, to relax and all. The spiel, people say. But here's the deal. For me, the lesson is simple. Noah, he's our hero. He did so much. And I realize that no matter how committed we think we are, no matter how many times God has used us in the past, no matter how much we've obeyed through the years or what we've experienced in the moving of the Spirit, we must never, ever let our guard down. You can't take a spiritual snooze ever. Because if you kick back spiritually, it will always lead to vulnerability. Well, I'm just not going to plug in like I used to. Watch it, because what happens is you start building something else in your life, and one day it will uncover you. And that's what I learned in this. Did Noah basically get so wrapped up in his field work that he had to put aside his faith walk? Because Noah walked with God. But he got tied up in his career. He got tied up in his field work. And let's be fair. He had to plant. He had to plow. He had to prune. He had to protect his crops. And he had to harvest them. He had a really good reason to be too busy to get to the Lord right now. Isn't that what we say? Isn't that what we do? I mean, I'm just too busy right now. I mean, I'd love to plug in. I'd love to do, but I'm just so busy. And what happens is we get so involved in our field work that our faith walk takes a hike for a while. And then we find, why did I fall apart? How could this happen? I used to really be in love with God. I used to do all this stuff. And all I can tell you is, if we allow our work or other interests to take the place of our walk with God, one day the fall will come. You'll just end up exposed, doing something dumb, becoming vulnerable and ashamed of yourself. And I think that's what the Bible is trying to teach us here. Because here's the deal. That's when the ham comes in. The pig, the person that wants to expose you. Ham comes in. He walks in on dear old Dad right here. And I can see him. He was the younger. And I'll bet you he was the family jokester. I'll bet you he's the guy that always goofed off. And he was, always trying to get into stuff that wasn't his. And we don't know why Ham was there or happened to be there. But he walks in on his dad. And Dad is drunk as a skunk. He's passed out and uncovered lying on, in the tent. And Ham thought it was pretty funny. He thought it was just today, if there had been Facebook back then, he would have posted the pictures. And so Ham was just checking this out. He just thought it was so funny. And so he goes to Shem and Japheth. Oh, God, have you seen Dad? Oh, this is so funny. You guys got to go see it. But Shem and Japheth, they knew that this was going to be an embarrassing moment for Dad. And so verse 23 tells us that they took a garment and laid it on both their shoulders. So they said, okay, Shem, you stand here. And they got a blanket and they laid it on the back of their shoulders. And they began to walk backwards without turning their faces, and just using side vision, and they placed the blanket on their dad and walked out, covering their dad. Noah wakes up, and it says that he knew, because usually when you're passed out, you're somewhat there, and just like, and he knew what Ham did. He heard what he did, and he realized what he did, and he curses his lineage. And this is something that I realize, why would Shem and Japheth not get a kick out of this? Why did they walk backwards and place that garment on top of their dad? Because love covers a multitude of sin. Love covers. Love covers. Not education, not debating. Love covers a multitude of sin. It's love. They did it out of love, to show their respect for their dad and to keep his dignity intact. Because at this point, we don't know how many people were on the earth at this time, but he was able to keep it from getting out. But Ham, man, he was ready to broadcast it and expose his father, dishonoring his father. And that's why he was cursed. Now, which one are we? We have three vantage points here. We have Noah, we have Ham, we have Shem and Japheth. Three vantage points to look at. Which one are we? I got news for you guys. We're all three. This is all of us. All of it. You see, as far as Noah, it can be so easy for me to justify my work in the ministry and exchange it for my walk of faith. Guys, I want you to know something. There are a lot of pastors that work in the ministry and they don't have a walk with God. Did you know that? There are people in the ministry, they don't even know God, but they carry the cloth. They have a work in the ministry, but they don't have a walk with God. And the reason they're never questioned is because they're men of the cloth. I mean, you can't question that. And while everyone expects, pastors to have it all together, we know the sad